A lot of people, when they grow up with trauma and poverty, they forget what it means to make a commitment because maybe poverty is too strong, but we can be stronger than poverty. And my hope for the future that we will have our language, there will be no drugs in our community, and we will relearn how to treat the animals, and the water will be protected, and we won't have to be fearful of all those things that are trying to steal our land. That's what I look forward to with these young ones. I'm sitting here by the most beautiful Missouri River. She's listening to us as we sit here. I want to talk about something that is 24 years old that just happened. It was our annual Ishnati Awicha Doampi, our coming of age camp for young girls in our Dakota Oyate or our Dakota Nation. So now we have 164 girls who have gone through this ceremony. The ceremony is the 4 most important days of a girl's life. We were able to camp on our beautiful ceremony site along the Missouri River, and I am so proud. The grandmothers are so proud of those girls who at this minute could take over everything. We have so much confidence in them that they know the ceremony, they know the organizing, they know the pre-work, they know the after-work, and they know the recruiting and all of the other protocols that have to go in place. We've given birth to other coming of age ceremonies. We had another circle come from another band of our Ocheti to our ceremony last Friday and requested help in birthing their ceremony. So we've agreed to help them any way we can. What you see behind me, which is Mini Wakba or Mini Shoshe, the sacred water. We have an inspiration called Mani Wizipa Wakan, or the sacred water bundle. And what we're doing is carrying out the dream of our ancestors and our not so long ago grandparents who lived along this river and actually became homeless when this dam came in and destroyed our homeland. And nowadays they have a name for it. It's called environmental racism because each one of the dams was placed right smack in the middle of indigenous communities and it killed our communities. Some people became homeless. I was lucky enough that my father and my family had land up on the hills, so I still retain my homeland, but I'm dedicated to restoring this community however I can in my lifetime and to pass on that wish to my grandchildren and my children. After Standing Rock and before Standing Rock, we talked about how we might do that. So, through the prayers, the doors started to open that we began planning for a cultural bioregion, the Missouri River watershed. The watershed actually is in the shape of a turtle, of a kale, which means longevity. So, this has been here forever. And our dream is to co manage, and we put that out to congressional people, to Madam Secretary of the Interior, and other federal agencies that we would like to co manage at least 150 miles of the Missouri River in our territory. So we are working hard, swift, and in a relationship way of a team of scientists, spiritual leaders, youth, professional people to create all the management tools that we need to take care of this river and to bring back indigenous management to the focus of what we always did before, even control fires. Today we went through the clouds. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. We had a training of citizen science, citizen education for our young people to learn how to water test. For example, in one site that we tested, we had like 45 vials and bottles that we used to test the water. So we're taking the temperature of our water, and she is ailing. In one of the areas, we found it was very acidic. When your body is sick, your body becomes acidic, and it's the same thing with Mother Earth. She's got a fever, there's acid building there, and so that gives us an indicator and something that we can hang on to and work with to say, this is not right. it's going to affect us, and it's going to come back and boomerang, and it's going to affect the 20 million water users along the Missouri River. We're looking at the treaties that are relevant to us and our sister and brother bands, with the guidance from us elders, remastering the treaty language to define the maps. And we found some errors on the way the maps were written from the 1800s, so that's pretty exciting. In fact, we found an area on the treaty map where there is no congruent explanation of what happened to that territory. It's not state, it's not federal, it's not tribal. It's almost like a black hole. And so we're really anxious to find out what that's about. And we're developing the Eastern Dakota place-based maps in the language of the research and the oral history of the place names of the creeks, the rivers, the land areas, the camps in the Eastern Dakota. And that, to my knowledge, has not been done. So pretty excited about that. I could go and talk about the water all night. There'll be plenty of it coming out to share in writing in the culmination of our co-management, and watch for it. I need your support and prayers for this to happen. Our concept of food sovereignty, the way we see it at Braveheart Society, it always was a part of us. And so we made a commitment in our 50-year strategic plan that we would continue to revive that with our young people. So this past year, we tilled 120 gardens. It was such an endearing way to peacemake, to make relationship, and to re-know the people in our community, to make kinship over gardens. On our reservation, the majority of our land is leased to non-native farmers. There are maybe 2, possibly 3 native people that are leasing our land and growing crops on it. So the grandmas, as part of their food sovereignty strategic plan, decided to bid for 40 acres. And we got the bid. We planted 19 acres in cropland. We want to eventually turn it back to natural grassland. So we put hay and grass in there with a cover crop of alfalfa. And we got quite a few bales. And being in a drought time, those bales are quite profitable. And so we will be marketing those bales. We're actually reviving Grandpa Deloria's Woju Okora Kichia, which was a planter society. I always thought I wanted to do a children's book, especially for my grandchildren. We're an age-graded society, meaning that the older ones have to teach the younger ones, those younger ones have to teach the younger than them, and the younger than them have to teach the youngest, all the way down to the unborn. And you begin teaching while that little one still is in the womb, with the songs, the love, even the smell of food. I remember my grandma told me a story about this grandma going down by the river, and she could tell that there was some food catches there of mouse beans. So she went over there and she started digging, and she took some of the beans thinking she was going to make soup for her grandchildren. And she heard a little voice in the weeds. He chushni, he tawota mitawa. That's my food. You need to leave it alone. And she looked way down in the weeds to try to figure out who it was, and it was a little mouse. And he was shaking his little paw at her. And he told her, that's my food. And so she felt really bad, and she reached down in her pouch and she had some papa, dried meat and cherries. And so she took that and she put it in the food catch. And she told him that she was making a trade and that she would take their mouse beans, but she would also give something in return. So the mouse squeaked their agreement. They said that would be okay. As long as there was a trade, they would share. But they also had to survive through the winter, so she had to make sure that she made that trade good. And so that was the story of the mouse beans. I had such fun writing that story about the mice for the children, and I have a very dear younger friend who illustrated the mice. We have a potential publisher, and that's part of my legacy work. As an elder in this Wakanka age of mine, I'm so gratified that the young people that come into Braveheart and participate in the things like we had today, They are so respectful and they are so hungry for the teachings. And so I would encourage any of the other elders who may not feel worthy or who may not have practice in telling stories or leading initiatives is that the grandchildren have no judgment about that. The youth have no judgment about it. They just want somebody there. Because of the extreme amount of trauma that we've endured, we're finally learning how to relax. We're learning how to be happy. And of course, there's a lot of pain in the community because of the violence and the darkness of drugs. But we hurry up and get in there and have happy times. And that's what happened today with our water testing. We had a really happy time with the water. We can rest tonight, we can have water dreams, and tomorrow we can start dreaming again of reaching that 50-year plan and fulfilling it. So I hear the crickets and the cicadas singing, so I think their night songs are coming, so probably time for us to go to bed. But thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you really soon. Wopira.
Coming from South Dakota, Reservation YST. Our water is sacred to all us native people.